نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. We hear repeatedly that our success lies in obeying the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in the same vein, we hear that if we disobey the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Allah is displeased with us, and if He is displeased with us, then we fail. The ultimate success of a believer is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In order for all of this to happen, we need to know exactly what those commandments are. If we don't know what the commandments of Allah are, then we're not in a position to fulfill them. And if we don't fulfill them, then we are putting ourselves in a pretty slippery position. The commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are revealed in His book, the Quran. The Quran is a book of guidance, and it is necessary for a believer to keep referring to this book for guidance. And this is the book that has to form the structure for how we spend our lives. This is the book that sets the limits of what we can and cannot do. So this is our book, given to us as one of the greatest gifts granted to humanity by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So old or young, we have to develop an attachment to this book. And the primary attachment to this book is to believe in it with all our heart, without any doubts, because ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. This is a book about which there can be no doubt. The second thing is to love this book. To love it because of all of the good that it has. It brings good to all of humanity. It brings a message of salvation. It brings to us a complete life. And the third thing is that we learn the commandments that are in this book, especially those that apply to us, while they're applying to us. It wouldn't be right if we learned about it after we'd already gone through that phase. So it makes sense for us to have also an attachment whereby we are learning the meanings of the Quran so that we can implement them. There's one passage in the Quran that summarizes many of the decrees of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to mankind. It's not a new system. These commandments were given to the prophets before Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and these instructions were conveyed to all of the nations before us. They're in Surah Bani Israel, starting from verse 22 or from verse 23, depending on how you look at it. There's a series, a chain of instructions, things to do, things not to do. And those pertain to belief first, but after that, it's all about social behavior, interacting with others. What kinds of interactions should we be having with others? So let's take a look at what these verses are telling us. Verse 22 says, لا تجعل مع الله إلها آخر فتقعد مذموما مخذولا. Don't take besides Allah any other deity. If you do so, then you will sit. You will be in a position where you will be sitting, being lowered, and being rejected. In other words, taking on deities other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will invite all the bad things that a human being could possibly have, and then one becomes madhmoom. And madhmoom is someone who is not just criticized, but is someone that is looked down upon. And the other word is makhdhul, and khadala means to leave someone, to discard someone. You will be discarded. So virtue begins with recognizing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the one absolute being. That's where virtue begins. And vice, evil, wrong begins with taking someone else as one's deity, one's God. It's the beginning of misguidance. And it leads to many other forms of misguidance. Somebody takes a tree to be their God. Now they think the whole world revolves around that tree. Somebody takes a river to be their God. They think the whole world revolves around that river. Somebody takes the sun to be their God. They think the whole world revolves around the sun. And everything that happens is decided and decreed by the sun. But the sun didn't create anything. That river didn't create anything. The tree doesn't make anything. It doesn't give protection. It doesn't give guidance. It doesn't provide sustenance. It doesn't do anything. So you're starting your life with a serious misconception. And if you can make such a big blunder, such a big error, then you are capable of committing any other error. But if you get this one thing right, then you are on the path to doing many other things right. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ. Allah has decreed, declared, decided that you will not worship anyone other than Him. So ibadah and ubudiyah, both things are reserved for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibadah is an act of worship. Ubudiyah is when you hand yourself over. You become a slave. That slavery is reserved for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibadah and ubudiyah. These are two things. Ibadah is what you do to please your Lord. And ubudiyah is the type of dealing you have with someone. When you hand yourself over to them, when you submit to them, you have become abd, you have become a slave. So that slavery is also reserved only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the next decree after this is وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And He has also decreed that you must show kindness to your parents. Ihsan is when you are dealing in the best way possible. So the best possible dealing with your parents. So it's not just getting along with them. It's not just listening to them. It's dealing with them in the best way possible, to the best of one's ability. And then some examples are given where people slip, where people don't deal with their parents in the best way possible. إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِنْدَكَ الْكِبَرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا. If the time comes when they both reach their old age, or one of them does, and you happen to be around, you are still alive, your parents have reached the age where they are no longer capable of doing everything like they used to. They no longer have the strength or the energy or the ability to remember, or they're no longer healthy like they used to be. They've become weak. They've become limited in what they can do for themselves and what they can do for you. They've exhausted their lives. They've spent their whole life looking after you, working for you, trying to build a life for you, trying to give you the best that they can possibly give you. They've done that now. They finished that. They're no longer able to do that. And now they might say things to you that you don't understand. They make no sense to you because you are young, you've grown up, you've reached an understanding of sorts about life and about things. You have your own experiences, limited as they may be. And you wonder, what are these people talking about? It makes no sense whatsoever. And sometimes they might give an opinion or ask you to do something that makes no sense. When that happens, فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ. Don't ever say a word that's going to hurt them. Uff is a word of frustration. You show them, you're just so frustrated with them. Like, what's wrong with you? Can't you just understand what I'm trying to say or what I need to do? It's a word that shows a lack of patience. And secondly, it's a word of disdain. That, okay, alright, fine. You have no idea what you're talking about. Alright, that was then, this is now. Times have changed. You're an old timer. You don't know how the world runs today. You don't know what I need right now. It's a word of disdain as well. So when a person does that, it reminds a parent of all of the times when you were out of control, when you were damaging things, breaking things, doing harm to yourself or to others, causing a commotion, having temper tantrums, and they put up with it. How patient they were. They didn't pick you up and throw you out of the house because you were rude once, because you left your room messy, because you didn't finish your food. They were patient. And not once, thousands of times they were patient. And today they're presenting something to you, they're saying something to you based on their state of mind, and you don't have the patience to hear them out? And today you're looking down at those same people that built you, that made you what you are. You're looking down at them. This is unacceptable in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So don't use words of frustration with your parents. وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا. Don't scold them. Sometimes it starts with a look of disdain, a small expression of disdain, and then it reaches the point where you start scolding them. No, don't you know, I've told you so many times it doesn't happen like this, it happens like this. How many times have I told you that I just can't do that? Can't you see I'm busy right now? Can't you see I have this and this and this? Don't ever scold them. Instead, قُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. Say such words to them that are noble, honorable, that express your respect for them. It's just a word. What they're saying is also, it's just a word, it's just a statement. And what you will say will also be just a word or just a statement. But that statement that you make will determine whether you get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or you distance yourself from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam once, while climbing the steps of the mimbar, said Ameen, Ameen, Ameen at each step. Afterwards, Sahaba asked him why he said that. They had never noticed him doing that before. And he informed them that Jibreel alayhi salam has come. And he said, I'm going to make a dua and I want you to say Ameen. So at each step, Jibreel made a dua and the Prophet ﷺ said Ameen. And one of those du'as was that, may that person be ruined, disgraced, ruined, failed, who sees his parents in old age but still cannot enter Jannah by serving them. So, sometimes it's the words that hurt the parents the most. We say things that we should never be saying. We say very hurtful things to our parents. Sometimes we remind them of mistakes and we hold them to it. Yeah, well, you're the one who did this and this and this. Because of you, all of this happened. Because of you, this happened. Because of you. When they reach that age, this is no longer the time to remind them of their mistakes. This is the time to try to serve them and help them for all of the work that they have done for you, all the sacrifices they have given for you. And there is no possible way of measuring the amount of sacrifice that a parent gives their child. It's immeasurable. The child doesn't see it. But when they grow up and become a parent themselves and go through that experience, they begin to realize that this is what my parents went through for me. وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ. What does Allah want from us? وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ. This is a very beautiful verse. Lower for them the wing of humility. So the child who has grown up is being compared to a bird. And once the bird matures, it reaches a certain age, its wings become strong. And what does the child want to do? The child wants to be independent because they no longer see themselves as a child. Just like the bird no longer sees itself as a small chick, it sees itself as a bird that wants to fly and it wants to spread its wings. The bird wants to spread its wings and soar through the skies, like they say, free as a bird. Nothing stopping it. Just like that, when a person grows up, they want to spread their wings, they want complete independence. It starts with small things. Privacy, demanding privacy. And it goes further. So it begins with them not wanting their parents to see who they're communicating with, what they're saying, what they're doing online, on their device. And then it reaches the point where they want to keep the door shut. So the parents have no idea what they're doing. I need to be independent. I need my own space. And they'll use many excuses for it. The other siblings bother me, they bug me. And then it leads to making their own friends, whether or not the parents approve. And then they start going wherever they want to go with their friends, making their own plans with their friends. In the beginning, they'll beg their parents, convince them, cry in front of them, do whatever it takes, do favors for them, anything to get their parents to allow them to do what they want to do. And after doing this for some time, they reach the point where they just tell their parents that I want to go here, and that's it. The parents might stop them or tell them, no, we don't want you to, and they will go and do it anyways. And then a time will come when they'll stop asking their parents if they can go or not. And they'll merely just tell them. And then a time comes when they won't even tell their parents where they're going, because they think they're independent. And they live as they choose. They come and go as they will. They act how they want to act in their homes. They treat the people around them the way they want to treat them. They treat the home space the way they want to treat it. If they want to abuse things, they'll abuse them. If they want to leave things out of place, they'll leave them out of place. Nobody should tell me what to do. I'm just so fed up with you guys. You guys just don't get it. It happens to girls, it happens to boys. It happens to girls in a little bit of a different way. It happens to boys in a bit of a different way, but it does happen to both. What are they doing? They're realizing that they have wings and they want to fly. But one thing And one place where we don't spread our wings is in front of our parents. Allah says, yes, you have wings. I have given you those wings. Tomorrow you will use those wings to achieve great things in life, to survive perhaps, to build a life for yourself. But when it comes to your parents, don't spread your wings, lower your wings. وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ. And how? Not out of inability. Not because you don't know how to fly. Not because you're incapable. But جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ. Allah wants the wing of humility to be lowered out of humbleness. To be humble in front of them. Don't spread your wings in front of your parents. Don't show how smart you are, how intelligent you are, how well you can talk back, and what kind of arguments you can present to win them over. No. The presence of the parents is no place for such things. That is the place to be humble. And you might think that I don't need to do this. I don't need to do this. Why should I do it? Allah says, min ar-rahma. Janah al-dhul min ar-rahma. You're not being humble to lower yourself, to disgrace yourself. You are humbling yourself, lowering yourself because of compassion for your parents. Sympathy for them, compassion for them, kindness. So that we don't say anything or do anything or display anything that could cause them some kind of a pain. That should be your behavior in front of them. And what should you be saying behind them? رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. O Allah, you have mercy on them and show kindness to them just like they did while they were raising me as a young child. So there are two types of things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibits us from: saying wrong things and doing wrong things. And He wants us to replace those with doing good things and saying good things. So it takes a moment to sit down and reflect. Am I doing anything negative around my parents? And am I saying anything negative around them? If I am, I need to replace negative behavior with positive behavior. And I need to replace negative talks with positive talks. رَبُّكُمْ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا فِي نُفُوسِكُمْ. Allah knows what you have inside. The intention. If you're kind, Allah knows why you're being kind. If you're being kind truly because Allah has ordered you to, and because you love your parents, and because you want to look after them and their sentiments, their feelings, then Allah is going to reward you. But if you're doing that to play with them, to use them for something, Allah knows that as well. إِن تَكُونُوا صَالِحِينَ. If you are truly pious, truly upright, فَإِنَّهُ كَانَ لِلْأَوَّابِينَ غَفُورًا. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives the mistakes, the errors of those who turn towards Him. In other words, if you are upright and you're doing your best, you're showing your parents the best that you can show them, and you're showing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the best that you can show Him. If there are some errors, omissions and commissions, mistakes in between, Allah will pardon those mistakes, because nobody is perfect. Nobody knows how to be the perfect son or the perfect daughter. So if we are truly trying and sincere about it, and after that we slip sometimes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will pardon it. But if we're not even trying, or we're doing it for the wrong reasons, then there is no reward with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then He grasps us for every mistake, for every error. So after the haqq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from all of mankind, the greatest haqq, the greatest due upon us, the greatest right upon us is that of our parents. أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And this is repeated in the Quran, where Allah orders us to worship Him, and then right away, parents. Worship Allah, look after your parents. Worship Allah, look after your parents. This is especially relevant and important in a society where the parents aren't given that much importance. It's all about the person, it's all about the individual, it's all about you. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His divine wisdom knows that life is not just about me. There are other people that are attached to me, and as a believer and as a slave of Allah, I need to look after them, I need to take care of them. After the parents, the next thing is وَآتِ ذَا الْقُرْبَى حَقَّهُ. Your closest relatives, ذِي الْقُرْبَى, those that are the most closely affiliated with you. Of course, your siblings, and then sprouting outwards, the next layer of relatives, and then the next layer, and the next layer. So uncles and aunts, immediate uncles and aunts, maternal and paternal, your own brothers and sisters, and then your cousins, nephews and nieces, and then distant relatives. The closer the relatives are, the more of a haqq, the more of a right they have on us. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَآتِ ذَا الْقُرْبَى حَقَّهُ. Pay them their due, give them their right, their haqq. So after our parents, we need to be looking after our families. And this again is something that society is really missing out on. The family is not being stressed enough. And society is feeling and suffering the damage of not having complete family structures. Islam says no, it's not just you. There are people attached to you. You must stay close to them. Under no circumstance are you allowed to cut off ties from them. And under no circumstance are you to hurt these people that are close to you. So the family unit is supposed to be very, very closely knit. Extremely close. And you know what? There's no replacement for family. There's no replacement for it. You only have one. However they are. Whatever they are, however they are, they're your family. That's what Allah has given you to work with. They might not be perfect, but then again, neither are you. They might not understand, but then there are many things that you don't understand. They might not always be so forthcoming and kind, but then you're not always forthcoming and kind either. So you give and take and you compensate and you make up and you get along, and then you get into arguments and differences, and then you make up again, and then you're good for a while, and then again there's something that happens and you have to mend it, and then you go along, and that's how life is. It's never static, that it's perfect and it stays perfect from the time you're born till the time you die. It doesn't happen like that, because these are people. These aren't machines and robots that just function. They're people. You're also a person. So there will be many things that tear families apart. Many such things happen that pull the family apart. But it's our job to keep everyone together. And those people that keep families together are very much beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'm just giving a brief summary. If I started telling you the ahadith, how many hadiths are about every one of these points that are coming in these verses, we'll be here all day. There are so many ahadith that explain, these verses and give us details about how to implement these verses and what they imply. But slowly, over many sessions, inshallah, we'll talk about those things. I'm giving you the gist. Wal miskin, not everyone is privileged in society. Not everyone has what you have. There are some people who don't have anything. And there are some people who have very little. So don't forget about those people who don't have what you have. And when you come across underprivileged people in society, you need to look after them. Irrespective of race or religion. It's not that, okay, look after Muslims that are poor. No, we look after everyone that's poor. Because they're also human beings. They're also the dependents of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You see a homeless person, don't go ask him your religion. Hey, can you say the Shahada? If you can, I'll give you $5. No. It's not like that. We help whoever needs help. Whoever the needy are, we are those people who are supposed to extend a helping hand. When people used to come begging, whether it was from the Prophet ﷺ or it was at the doors of Sahaba, you think they asked them what their faith was? What religion are you? No. You give. Somebody needs, give. وَابْنَ السَّبِيلِ. This is something that we almost have forgotten. Travelers, visitors, people are just passing through. Ibn al-Sabil, the son of the path, literally. Meaning they've adopted a path that they have to travel on to get from one place to another. And for a while they're on that path. They don't have a home per se, they're moving around. How many visitors come and go from our neighborhoods and communities? We don't even know that they came and they left. But it is, in fact, a very honorable thing to look after visitors, people that are visiting our areas, visiting our communities, for any purpose, whether they're there for a religious purpose or for a business purpose or a family purpose, they're visitors. When a person is traveling, they're out of their element. And a little bit of comfort means a lot to them. Smile at a tourist. They'll appreciate it so much because they're around completely unknown people. Helping hand. Help them find the way if they're lost. Offer whatever hospitality that you can, and you will get their prayers, and you will get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, irrespective of whether they're Muslim or non-Muslim. Travelers, in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the time of Sahaba, there were no inns and motels. There was no such concept. They didn't have hotels in Medina. Whoever came was a guest of the Muslims. Somebody is going to take him to his house and offer him hospitality and put him up. So give them their haqq. Means spend on them when you have to spend on them, to the best of your ability. And when it comes to yourself, وَلَا تُبَذِّرْ تَبْذِيرًا. Don't squander your money. Don't throw it. Tabdhir is when you're spending on things that you don't need to spend on. You're just throwing your money away. So it tells us something, that wealth is a bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It needs to be used carefully, like every other bounty. Just like health, and just like youth, and just like time, and just like all those things, these are bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can't just throw them away. وَلَا تُبَذِّرْ تَبْذِيرًا. There are two things that come into play when we talk about incorrect spending. Two terms are used in the Quran. One is israf. Allah says, إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. So israf is when you spend more than you need to on something. You need something that costs $100, but you go and spend $150 on it. You didn't need to spend that extra $50, but it had something that makes it a little more flashy and you could show it off. That makes it even worse. Now there's two problems here: overspending and then showing off. So spend what you need to on what you need. And tabdhir is when you're spending on things that you don't even need. Just wasting money. So this is a mistake. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ الْمُبَذِّرِينَ كَانُوا إِخْوَانَ الشَّيَاطِينَ. These wasteful spenders, or these squanderers, are the brothers of shaitan. Because it's shaitan that uses all his resources in useless things. Shaitan uses all his time, all his energy, and his armies. The Junood of Iblis, they also spend all their time, all their energies, all their resources in vain. So these people become similar to them. So avoid that similarity. إِنَّ الْمُبَذِّرِينَ كَانُوا إِخْوَانَ الشَّيَاطِينَ وَكَانَ الشَّيْطَانُ لِرَبِّهِ كَفُورًا. And Shaitan is very ungrateful to his Lord. So that tells us something. Wasteful spending is a sign of being ungrateful for what we have. When we just take something and throw it away, if you gave me a gift, you gave me something as a present, I just took it and threw it in the garbage. What does that mean? It means I don't care about you and I have no gratitude. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a gift, we just take it and throw it away. It means we have no gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's not about the money, it's not about the gift, it's almost like an insult to the one who gave us that gift. وَكَانَ الشَّيْطَانُ لِرَبِّهِ كَفُورًا. Now sometimes your relatives or a poor person, a needy person, or somebody else might come to you for a need, but you don't have anything to help them at that moment. So what do you do in such a state, in such a condition? وَإِمَّا تُعْرِضَنَّ عَنْهُمُ ابْتِغَاءَ رَحْمَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكَ. If you yourself are in need at that time, you are in need of the mercy of Allah, you're in need of some help, assistance from Allah yourself, and someone else is coming to you, and because of that you're not able to take care of them, فَقُلْ لَهُمْ قَوْلًا مَيْسُورًا. Don't turn them away roughly and rudely. And what's your problem? Can't you find anyone else? I have my own issues right now, I have my own problems, leave me alone. Say to them gentle, kind, easy words. Even if you have to turn someone away or you have to turn away, then do it with some grace, do it with some class. Don't be rough and crude and rude. Don't break their heart, because they came to you with some kind of expectation. They were hoping that maybe their need could be fulfilled through you. And a person only turns to another person when they really do need something. So they're in a bit of a sensitive position right now. So don't be harsh on them, because you will break them sentimentally and emotionally. So if you can't help them, then turn away in a graceful way, in a kind way, and say gentle words, words of comfort to them, and in that way you explain that you are not able to help them at that time. And when it comes to your own spending, وَلَا تَجْعَلْ, or spending on others, وَلَا تَجْعَلْ يَدَكَ مَغْلُولَةً إِلَىٰ عُنُقِكَ وَلَا تَبْسُطْهَا كُلَّ الْبَسْطِ فَتَقْعُدَ مَلُومًا مَحْسُورًا. The economics of spending. Don't, again a comparison is being given to someone who has their hands chained, not behind their back or in front of them, but to their neck. If your hands are chained to your neck, then you're not in a position to do anything. You can't use your hands. So don't keep your hands chained to your neck, and don't open them all the way, because in both cases you are going to be criticized and you're going to be regretful. What this means is that when you need to spend, you should spend. The person with the hand chained to the neck is that really miserly, stingy person who doesn't want to give up even a penny. Even when they need to spend, they don't spend. They have the money, they need that thing, whatever it is, but they're not spending. Sometimes it's their family. They have the money to spend on their family is in need of something, but no, I'm not spending. I'm saving. So don't tie your hands to your neck. But on the other side, don't open them all the way so that you give away everything. You don't have any concept of keeping something for your needs or their needs. So don't spend so openly that you just give everything away in one shot. Now there's nothing. Now you're sitting around scratching your head. Especially when there are others that are depending on you. Because then you will have to hear a lot of things. That, just overspender, wasteful spender. This person has no sense. They have no money sense. They just throw away all their money. And then you're going to regret it as well, because there could be a time when you need that money. So what the verse is telling us is that it's okay to save a little bit for your needs. Of course, we don't hoard, but it's okay to have savings. It's not a bad thing, especially if those savings are for a need, a genuine need. A person gets their paycheck and they say, it's time to go shopping. So they spend the whole paycheck on groceries. But they lost sight of the fact that, in our house we also need clothes. We also have to pay the bills. We have to pay this, we have to pay this. But I spent it all on groceries because I was really in the mood for buying a lot of food. So don't do that. Don't throw away your money. إِنَّ رَبَّكَ يَبْسُطُ الرِّزْقَ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَقْدِرُ إِنَّهُ كَانَ بِعِبَادِهِ خَبِيرًا بَصِيرًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expands rizq for whom He wants, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala restricts it, restrains it for whom He wants. And it could be the same person. Sometimes they see their rizq expanding, sometimes they see it getting shorter, and sometimes it applies to a family, and that is a matter that is entirely in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one has control over the rizq. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has instructed us to do is to work. To work for our rizq. He wants us to work hard, to earn an honest living. But at the same time, if we are not ending up with the amount of money that we wanted, or the amount of money that we thought we should have, then it's not something to get frustrated about. It's not something to get disheartened about, because at the end of the day, the whole matter of rizq is only in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then some more instructions are given. This is for parents. Sometimes the parents are inflicted with poverty. And it's a very difficult place to be in. It's a very difficult decision and position to be in when the person who is supposed to be sustaining the family is themselves in a state where they have nothing to offer. So what some people used to do at that time is they would kill their children. They had a baby and say, we don't have the money to look after it. This child is going to starve. And instead of allowing it to grow up starving, we just kill it. So the Quran says, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ خَشْيَةَ إِمْلَاقٍ. Don't kill your children out of fear of poverty. نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُهُمْ وَإِيَّاكُمْ. We are the ones who sustain them, and we sustain you also. You don't even control your own rizq. What to say about the rizq of your child? And sometimes children are such that because of a child, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases the rizq of the whole family because Allah wants to sustain him. There's a certain amount of rizq Allah wants to give to that child because of him. Others are also eating and enjoying life. We don't know. It's a system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we become completely materialistic, then we might say that, oh no, I don't have the finances for this, so I better end this. No. And then some things about morals. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا إِنَّهُ كَانَ فَاحِشَةً وَسَاءَ سَبِيلًا. Don't even go close to adultery. In other words, having inappropriate relations with the other gender. Don't go close to it. So, it doesn't make sense that a person makes contact, makes friends, has the illicit relationship, and then you're saying that, oh no, I don't want to commit haram. Well, you've already taken the steps to facilitate that. And we live in a time where it is very easy to have wrong relationships. It's very easy, very accessible. And some people might think that they're very clever because they're able to have those illicit relationships that nobody knows about. Those haram relationships, those haram friendships. You're not being smart, you're hurting yourself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't even go close. How do you go close? It starts with your eyes, your gaze, your mind. What are you thinking with your mind? What are you looking at with your eyes? What are you listening to with your ears? People ask about music. What message is music conveying today? It's a message of filth. Absolute indecency. I would say that the people who listen to music today are in the greatest danger of haram, if they aren't already involved in haram. Listen to music, lyrics of indecency. It reflects you, that you're an indecent person. A decent person cannot listen to indecent things. You can't. If you're a decent person, can you tolerate someone speaking indecency in front of you? You can't. How could you listen to someone singing about it? And remember that with every kind of music comes the lifestyle of the people who make that music. Always remember this. You listen to a kind of music, you're going to try to walk like the people who make that music, try to dress like those people, you're going to try to talk like them. You're going to become just another wannabe in a long list of wannabes. You have no identity of your own, you're just taking it and stealing it from the most inappropriate people. You listen to music with illicit themes, inciting you to commit haram, literally telling you to commit haram. And you expect your mind not to process it and not to think about it? It doesn't happen like that. Allah says, don't even go close to it. Don't go close to anything that could lead you not to doing haram, but to even thinking about haram. You look at things with your eyes and you expect it not to come into your mind, into your brain. You're a human being. You process everything. It's all information. It all goes inside. It all affects you. It all touches you. It all changes you. Doesn't matter what it is. إِنَّهُ كَانَ فَاحِشًا وَسَاءَ سَبِيلًا. It is an act of indecency and it is a terrible path to walk on. And it is a path. One thing leads to the next. The gaze leads to the thought leads to the plan leads to action. And it's a terrible, and one act leads to another act. And then that act leads to another one, and leads to another one, leads to another one. It's a path that you start walking down. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا النَّفْسَ الَّتِي حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ. The prohibition of murder, of taking someone's life. People's lives are sacred in the sense that we are not allowed to violate those lives. A person's life is what we say inviolable. You cannot violate it. You cannot go and hurt somebody physically. And the extreme of that is to take someone's life. So the Quran here forbids us from that. And then وَمَنْ قُتِلَ مَظْلُومًا فَقَدْ جَعَلْنَا لِوَلِيِّهِ سُلْطَانًا فَلَا يُسْرِفْ فِي الْقَتْلِ. What if someone's own relative has been killed? Then the relatives of the deceased person should not take matters into their own hands and go on a killing spree themselves. Because if they do that, then they will be causing trouble for themselves. إِنَّهُ كَانَ مَنْصُورًا. Then in that case, the one that they're going to hurt, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to help them. So we don't take the law into our own hands. Retaliations. What's happening outside in the world of gangs? This group is killing one of their members, they're retaliating and killing one of their members, and it's going on and on and on and on, back and forth. A few weeks ago, just here in this neighborhood, there were like 4 killings here. 2 just on this street. So what is this? It's a total disregard for human life. You have no concept of the value of a living person, of a living thing. You might have differences, you might get into fights, you might get into all of those things, but life, you cannot tamper with someone's life. And again, come back to music. There's music out there that's promoting this kind of violence. You have these kids out there thinking that they're thugs and they're gangsters, and now they get their hands on a gun, and now they're gonna do what they see in the movies, what they hear in their music. It's not a life of glory. A life of gangs is not a life of glory. Ask anyone who's been in one and come out of it. It's not a life at all. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا مَالَ الْيَتِيمِ إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. If you are entrusted with someone else's wealth, be very careful. This is for those parents, people who adopt children, and those children have some wealth of their own. Don't even go close to it. إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ, but in the best way. It applies to all trusts. حَتَّى يَبْلُغَ أَشُدَّ, until that orphan reaches the age where they can manage their wealth on their own. وَأَوْفُوا بِالْعَهْدِ, fulfill your covenants, your promises, your contracts. إِنَّ الْعَهْدَ كَانَ مَسْئُولًا, because on the day of judgment we will be asked about all our pledges and our contracts. So our promises, our pledges, when we give our word, we have to fulfill it. وَأَوْفُوا الْكَيْلَ إِذَا كِلْتُمْ وَزِنُوا بِالْقِسْطَاسِ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ. And when we are buying and selling, so when it comes time to pay in full. When it comes time to give something that someone else is buying, give it in full. It's not like you owe the person a certain amount of money and you give them a little bit less, hoping that they won't notice. They're in a hurry, they're not going to notice. They walk away. They think you've given them the full amount. Allah knows how much you gave them. Or someone comes to buy something from you, you remove some things. If the thing is, for example, 1 kilo of some kind of a commodity, you give them a little bit, give them 900 grams. Oh, they won't notice the difference. Who's going to notice 100 grams missing? Allah notices. Allah knows. So ذَلِكَ خَيْرٌ وَأَحْسَنُ تَأْوِيلًا, and use proper balances and scales. In other words, be precise in what you're giving and taking. And this is, it might not seem very relevant to some of you guys who are just used to going to, the supermarket, going to these big stores and just picking up stuff in packages and you pay in full and that's it. But in the world of business, this happens on a daily basis. People are selling things, passing them off as something else. Selling cars with a completely rotten inside, completely rotten engine, passing it off as something very well. So you put your word behind what you are giving, and you make sure it is exactly what you say it is. And that, Allah says, will bring you the best results. ذَلِكَ خَيْرٌ, it's better for you. وَأَحْسَنُ تَأْوِيلًا, it will bring you the best results. If you really want to succeed, even in business, do it honestly. From day one. Never let go of honesty in business. Whether it's a shop, it's import-export, it's a trade, doesn't matter what it is. Always deal honestly. It's going to come with the best results. And وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ, don't get involved in things that you don't know about. In things that don't concern you and things that you have no knowledge about, don't get involved in them. Some people, they start talking, for example, they start talking about politics or politicians. I'll just give you an example. They go on and on and on and on about something, some political thing. They don't even know what it's about. They're going and insulting this politician or that politician. They don't know what happened behind the scenes. I just one example. So don't delve into things that you have no knowledge about. And this includes, don't chase after things that don't concern you. If something doesn't concern you, don't go and start making inquiries about it and trying to find out all the details. And Why? إِنَّ السَّمْعَ وَالْبَصَرَ وَالْفُؤَادَ كُلُّ أُولَٰئِكَ كَانَ عَنْهُ مَسْئُولًا. Your ears, your eyes, and your heart, every one of them will be asked how they were used. Because when you're delving into something, you're looking at it, or you're listening to it, or you're thinking about it all the time, Allah is going to ask you how you use these eyes and this heart and these ears. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to ask. And if it was used in vain, in useless things that didn't affect you, things that didn't concern you, then we are liable in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. Don't walk in the world with arrogance. وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا إِنَّكَ لَن تَخْرِقَ الْأَرْضَ وَلَن تَبْلُغَ الْجِبَالَ طُولًا. No matter how hard you stomp your feet, walking in anger or in pride, no matter how hard you stomp your feet, you won't be able to tear the ground open. You won't be able to rip the earth open. And no matter how high you raise your head in arrogance and pride, your head's not going to touch the sky. So give up. Walk gently. وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا. The slaves of Allah are those who walk gently. They tread the earth gently. So a person's demeanor should not be that of arrogance, especially in a time when it's all about individualism, it's all about standing out, it's all about being proud. There is no virtue in being conceited, thinking of yourself as all that. It's good to have a positive self-concept, but you're not supposed to be arrogant and conceited with the point that you think that you're better than the next person. The moment you start thinking you're better than the next person, that is where the problems start. Because that's exactly what happened with Iblis. That was his first mistake. That he thought he was better than Adam a.s. just because he was made of fire and Adam a.s. was made of soil. So we never assume that we're better than the next person. In fact, a Muslim is always humble and considers others better than them, because the other person might have some good quality that I don't have. Allah likes that quality and will forgive them because of it. And I might have one quality that I don't even know of, or one deed that I've committed, or one thing that I've said. I don't even notice it, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like me because of that. And then where will I go? كُلُّ ذَلِكَ كَانَ سَيِّئُهُ عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ مَكْرُوهًا. These are all things that are disliked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ذَلِكَ مِمَّا أَوْحَى إِلَيْكَ رَبُّكَ مِنَ الْحِكْمَةِ. These are from the wisdoms that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed. And again, this passage ends with Tawheed. وَلَا تَجْعَلْ مَعَ اللَّهِ إِلَهًا آخَرَ فَتُلْقَى فِي جَهَنَّمَ مَلُومًا مَدْحُورًا. So this is one passage from the Quran. It's very comprehensive. It contains many things. We just touched it. And there's much more to learn about it. But like I said, it's important for us to increase our attachment with the Quran and its message. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to implement these teachings in our lives. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to work on a daily basis towards His pleasure. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين.